you cannot trick the system. There was no chance to even get an interview with her. But then the journalists, all of them, and the biggest ones, they want an interview. They offer you anything. If you want to be a good musician, you're sitting down and you're writing good music. That's what you do.
Hi, welcome back to Unsigned Berlin. This is season 5, episode 1, and the interview is coming at you in just a second. I just wanted to take a quick moment to introduce our guest and to cover a couple other little things that are new about this season that you might find interesting. So, our guest is Steffi Von Kannemann. She is a co founder of Better Things Berlin, which is a PR company that's done publicity for some really big artists like Rosalia, Polachek, Jorja Smith, Omar Apollo, Ginger Root, as well as some smaller or local artists like Moulet, for example. We talk about in the episode, in the second half, we talk mostly about the sort of a DIY guide that Better Things has for independent artists and a lot of the information in there about how to budget an album, what festivals to reach out to, what are showcase festivals, that kind of thing. So that's a lot of resources for independent artists. And in the first half, we talk a lot about their approach when working with really big artists, especially with a bit of a focus on the Rosalia Tour and how things have changed since 2019 through COVID and where the focus for publicity for in that time has changed, but also for different artist sizes. Um, so that's the episode. I hope you enjoy. But first, also a couple little bits of housekeeping. The first big change is we're going to be putting out episodes bi-weekly. So every other week, we kind of made the decision that for this season, we could improve the quality of each episode a lot by basically just cutting the number in half. And this will be the first one. And in a couple of weeks, we'll have an interview with Hannah Noir and Ambi coming out. And yeah, it'll be every 2 weeks from now on. And hopefully you'll see that reflected in the quality of the content as well. The second thing is that we now have a Substack. So if you were on our emailing list before, that's all been transferred automatically. But if you're not, you can find us on Substack now, which will have the usual updates about where you can see artists, independent artists in Berlin this month or this week, usually monthly, but sometimes we have really busy weeks. As well as a series of essays that are written by me and in the future will be written by other people as well that are sort of active in the industry. But this first one is a series of sort of articles. It's 7 essays, mini essays. Um, the first one is already out. You can find that on our Substack now, as well as the one that's coming this week, which is all about the steps that need to be taken for a true democratization of culture and to push the best quality art to the top and to put the power in the hands of the people in a sustainable way. So, sort of trying to fulfill the promise that the internet originally gave of a sustainable culture, a sustainable democratization of culture. I mean, so I think it's really interesting. I put a lot of work into it. I hope it provides a lot of an interesting perspective as well as a lot of value for especially independent artists that may be watching or people who are active in the industry here. Um, but yeah, I hope you enjoy it. And I don't want to talk about it too much. Everything that you need to know about that is on the Substack, which you can find at Unsigned Berlin on Substack or via the link in the description or in our link in bio for any of our social media. So thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the episode.
My name is Steffi. I am part of Better Things, which is my agency, and we're based in Berlin. We do promotion for musicians, but we also do fun marketing campaigns on social media, and we also do showcase. We do a listening session at Dussmann. The next one is going to be with Banks, and yeah, we do all kinds of different stuff with artists.
Mm-hmm. What's your main role with the company?
I'm the owner and the founder.
So you also mostly organizing the operations, or are you pretty hands-on with the artists?
I'm having lunch with all the partners and
Doing all the
and the
business.
ones who are giving us money. Yeah, so I'm more organizing that everything is in place and thinking of new projects and getting new projects in. And I'm not doing promotion myself, except for one project at the moment. But usually it's Daria and Simone. Simone is my co-owner, like my co-partner. But Daria and Simone, they're both working on the PR. So whenever you get an email from us, then it's probably from them.
Mm-hmm. What's the project you're working on?
Oh, we work with Cloudcell, a label in Hamburg, and the owner, Johann Scherer, he's releasing a book now in April, and I'm promoting it. And it's cool because I've never promoted a book before. but since he is also part of, he's a musician, he's also a producer, and yeah, and he's also writing books. So that's why it's a very fun project to promote, and it's interesting because you speak with different kinds of journalists,
Right.
and it's just a completely different area than music. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I was going to ask about the book promotion. What do you think the most surprising thing has been from entering that world of doing books? And like, I don't know, is it basically print media actually works a lot better for books, for example, because people read, or
No, I
what's
think you start like the journalists. How do you want to say it? Uh, the more serious journalists are answering you because it's
mm,
like literature is a topic that is taken probably more serious. Within journalism, which doesn't mean that music is not serious, but I think it's more like something. It's those kind of journalists that you never get or never get to talk to, and then you have a book by someone who's already known, and it's like it makes a big difference. But it also makes a big difference if you do promote an artist that's known or that's really hyped at the moment, and
mm-hmm.
instead of like just like promoting a new indie artist or so.
Yeah. What would you say is the biggest difference between promoting someone who is doing, for example, a first album release and someone like you did promo for Jorja Smith or Omar Apollo that are like international names?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference is that when you promote an artist that's new, you basically try to get whatever you can get,
Mm-hmm.
to get the name out, and yeah, they're not so selective in what they're taking on. And when you do promotion for someone like Jorja Smith or Caroline Polachek or Rosalia, it's more about, okay, what are we not gonna do?
Right.
You know, um, keeping the people away from them. I
Okay.
feel.
Could you give an example?
Yeah, like when we did the Rosalia campaign, she was so hyped at the moment that there was no chance to even get an interview with her. But
Mm-hmm.
then the journalists, all of them, and the biggest ones, they want an interview. They offer you anything. Like they offer interview for online, for print. They offer the first page. They offer like the cover. I even had a journalist who was flying to London just hoping to meet her
Oof.
by a huge magazine in Germany. And that's a difference, and it's not even easier. So it's you have to play more poker with them,
Mm-hmm.
and I think, and this is what we do with Better Things. We promote all kinds. So we promote really the new ones, and we promote the big ones. And I think the mixture is a good thing to work on.
Mm-hmm. For that Rosalia campaign, that was for El Mal Querer, which was before COVID. Um, which is it was I guess it's an interesting campaign to see from the outside as someone who works with music but doesn't do the sort of trying to do sales and stuff side. Um, if you're trying to market something that's a distinctly different audience, like Rosalia is Spanish spoken and it's for generally like a Latin audience, but you're trying to build a tour or you're trying to do promo in Germany, what's your approach to that? Are you focused on Latinos in Germany, or are you trying to sort of like translate what she does to a German audience?
I mean, when you do promo for such a big artist, you don't have so much freedom anymore to be creative on
Right.
it. You know, it's more like she's been seen as a huge international artist at that point, and the crowd could be anyone,
Mm-hmm.
which it is. Like, of course, she's huge in Latin America, and that's where she became big. And then it swapped over to the US, and then it went to Europe, and at the same time she was already big in Spain here, and people were going crazy, especially within the LGBTQ scene. She was huge before
Mm-hmm.
she became an international pop star. But yeah, no, when you work with an artist on that scale, you're basically trying to get everyone on board.
Right.
Like there's no certain focus. Like if we work for French artists a lot, especially worked for them in the past for Sony France, and that was more like you were really looking for the communities,
Mm-hmm.
because it was French spoken and not huge pop stars. It was more like indie artists. And then, when they go on tour, you're really trying to get the communities that live here,
Right.
and try to get the journalists who are like francophile, and these kind of things. But you always try to also place them as an international artist, because that's what they want.
Mm-hmm.
They don't. I mean, it's good to have those communities, but everybody wants to be an international artist.
Yeah. For that campaign, was there a particular focus on print over radio or that kind of swing?
It's always what they hire you for.
Right.
That was by Sony, and I think it was online print,
Mm-hmm.
which we usually do for them. Um, and then you work that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also noticed when I first read, I was looking through your website when I first read that Rosalia was there. I remember specifically being here for the Motomami sort of press, because it was everywhere on posters and billboards. And I remember at Warschauer Straße it was like sprayed onto the concrete. Why do you think for that tour that was kind of the more obvious approach of having like basically the logo and the album cover in public spaces instead of more focus on interviews and radio and that kind of thing?
They didn't do promo for this album. They did more like marketing for that album.
Okay. Can you explain the difference?
The difference is that you do stuff like you put big posters and you put the logo and you do funny send outs, and you put a lot of money into social media, or advertisement, but you do not hire a promoter.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do that. They did it. Sony did it themselves, and
Right.
so the focus, and probably it was kind of a right approach,
Mm-hmm.
because she is huge through social media, and this is also where I see her, where I get news.
Yeah.
She's actually playing in the new Euphoria series.
Oh.
I saw that as yesterday. Um, and I think it's also a tryout. It's like the majors and the labels, and they're always trying out new things. And then
Mm-hmm.
you sit there, you have your budget, and then you think, okay, what are we going to do this time? Like, what do we do something different? Like, do we focus on something? And I mean, Motomami, that was like 4 years ago or so. Yeah. And that was a time when I think majors were not so convinced anymore about promotion. And then they said, okay, we just put everything into social media and
Mm-hmm.
into marketing. So that's what they did.
Mm-hmm. That was a similar time when that was kind of like the idea of what's happening. That was a similar time to Better Things existing, like changing from the previous company. Why did you choose to do the rebrand and kind of remake?
Yeah, because we started 2009. I started it with a Swedish friend,
Mm-hmm.
and we wanted to focus on Scandinavian artists. So we wanted to basically bring them here, do shows, easy. It was we never thought of having a company, and definitely not for so long.
Right.
It was just a project, stupid, we wanted to DJ. We did a party called Scandinavian Music. And so we were called Nordic by Nature, and that was what we did. We did Scandinavian music. We did everything around Scandinavian music, which was good because it gave us definitely a USP, but it also limited us a lot. And when we grew out of that concept, like already promoting international artists, we already did, like Rosalía, for example, under Nordic by Nature, and it didn't make any sense anymore. And my friend, she moved to the UK, opening a gin distillery, and then I got Simone on board as my partner, and we knew we have to rebrand ourselves. And I generally think it's a good idea always to do something new. Either you're rebranding or you're changing your concept or whatever. It was the best decision we could do, like, definitely. Also, I really love the name. It's taken from the series Better Things, which is a great series. I can recommend it. And it was just about we were within COVID. We were deep into COVID. We thought about it before to rebrand, but that was a good time because everything was standing still and everything was weird. And we were like, okay, that's the perfect moment to rename yourself. Like, what else should we do right now? In the beginning, there was nothing happening. No emails came in. Like, it was so weird. And so we said, okay, so we're going to do a rebranding in October. And you have to prepare a little bit for that. You have to do a website. You have to, what do you have to do? A logo, stuff like that. And since we do everything ourselves, it takes some time. And we did the socks. We sent them out. And it was one of the best things we could do, also because it gives you promotion as a company, and people see a new facet. And then it was started to be good because the artists became more proud of being promoted by us.
Right.
Because they could identify more. Because they were like, before, some were like, I don't know, it was a UK artist, and they were like, why is that Nordic by Nature company promoting us? That's so weird. Like, aren't they doing Scandinavian, So that's why we did that.
One of the things that you do, which especially for independent artists is really difficult to even understand how it works, is sync licensing. So getting your music into TV and film and that kind of thing. Can you explain maybe for independent artists why that is important and what it could mean for them?
Yeah, it's one piece out of the puzzle. So if you want to make some money, and if you want to, there's so much music you discover through series, through films. Euphoria is a good example. Then this is a good opportunity, and you can go with a publishing company that tries to get you in, like sync you and collects everything, but you can also just work with a sync agency. I mean, I can always recommend to work with a publishing company if you can, because really they're collecting everything for you. They're making sure that there's no money lying around under a stone, like that they really collect the money in every country. But if you want to stay independent yourself, if you don't want to give up percentage, then go with the sync agency. So it basically works. We're pitching for you, and if there's a deal, we take up a certain percentage, which is usually 20 or 30%, depends on the deal. And the rest is for you, and you decide. You always decide if you want to do this or not. And this could be advertisement, movie, film, and then you keep all your rights. Like, everything that comes from it, all the royalties, is going to stay with you. And it's a bit. Germany works a bit different than the US, for example. In the US, you have to clear everything. Like, even if a TV spot wants to get you, even if, in Germany it's a bit different. Like, TV can basically just use your music, and then they give you royalties in the end.
Okay.
But for Netflix production, for advertisement, all these kind of things, you always need to clear. And this is what we are for as an agency.
What is the difference between when your music goes on an ad on TV, for example, or is in a movie? Why do they have to clear one and not the other?
They have to clear both, but here in Germany, like in the US, they have to, it's the same. It's the same situation. So they ask you, can I use this song or piece of a song? And you, as the owner, you have to say yes. Right. It's fine. But for example, in Germany, it works a bit different with TV. Like, they can use it, they can take it from an archive, and then they do not always have to ask you. Okay. But if it's a cinema movie, it's different. It's completely different. They have to ask you.
Why is that? Just the way it's
just it's called blanket licensing. It's something that you have in the It's just something that you have. Yeah, it's just a rights thing. That countries work differently. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is also the reason why sync is not so big in Germany than in the US, for example, because the market is not as big. I mean, first of all, the market is bigger generally in the US. There's so much more money in there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, TV basically falls away here. So you have series on Netflix, or Apple or wherever, and advertisement, and you have the international stuff, but it's still an important market, and it's a super hype market. It's like wherever you go, every conference, like sync is the topic, and people get, they are getting placed on gold. It's like, because there is a lot of money in there if you do it right, and it's a good thing, because imagining the new White Lotus series, and you're in there, with your song. It's not just about money; it's also about prestige, about coolness, about money. Yeah, but it's about being placed there.
Right. So it's usually more. The thing that's interesting is the image of like,
Yeah.
if you're in
Yeah,
the next
it's an
Euphoria,
image
you're
thing.
an artist. You're like a big artist.
It's an image thing, and you can use that for promotion, for everything. You are getting part. Your song gets synced there, and then this totally makes changes the numbers of like ticket sales. All these kind of things. So it's one piece of a puzzle. Like these days, we have to see how we promote an artist. And it's not one road. It's like there's a lot of things, and I think it just makes sense as a manager or as an artist to keep all your opportunities open, and working with a sync agency non-exclusively, you can't make anything wrong. Like it's just basically
it's a
people
win-win.
working for free for you,
What is the goal of most of the artists that come to you, especially smaller artists? So I know you work with Moulet, I think. So she's from Berlin. What, for example, artists that kind of size, are they usually coming to you saying, I just want to grow my audience, or I want to have more time for music and not do this? Or is it a money thing? What's typically what you see?
It's Mulai, she's on Grönland, which is a label we work closely with. And we've been working with Mulai quite some years now. And Simone, who's promoting her, she loves Mulai. Like she's so convinced that she's just an awesome artist. And it's more about the relationship we have with Grönland. When Grönland comes up to us, say, hey, we have this artist, do you want to promote it? We usually say yes. Like it's not really that we say no. Doesn't really happen, because they're so selective. And so then we make Mulai, in this case Mulai, and that's how it usually works. Artists directly, it's not so often that they come up to us.
So it's usually labels that approach you. And what is their goal?
Why do they do that? Why do they? Yeah, that is a question I really would love to answer. I have no idea. Like, they believe in it. They believe in their artists. It's not about Mula. It's in general. I've really wondered that myself a lot, especially with major labels. Like, why do they believe especially in this artist? Like, I've seen artists where it makes total sense. Like, I could totally see it. And then there were artists who were so hard to work with, and I really didn't get it, why they put so much effort in this. Like, it's something I think you have to see yourself. Like, you have to decide yourself. There must be a feeling about something, and this feeling is sometimes shared and sometimes not, but it's good if there is someone like a label or management who believes in you. That is amazing. And it's sometimes you cannot explain it, probably. If I would go up to, it's now in this case, I would go up to Grönland and ask them, hey, so why have you, like, why Mule? Probably they would also be like me right now, like talking and this and this and this. But it's a feeling. It's something that you must be convinced about, and then it's gonna happen or it's not gonna happen. Like, I talked to a booking agent one day. I asked her, so how do you choose your artists? And she was like, it's basically like going to a horse. What's it called? Horse run. Like
horse race.
Horse race. Like, you have 5 horses, and you bet on them, and one of them is going to win.
Right.
So this is how it works.
Mm-hmm. When you get an artist like that, or a label gives you an artist like that, saying, "Hey, we want you to work with this artist," and you're kind of like, "I don't get what's good about this. I don't understand it." Do you typically then just say no, or is it like a process of overcoming that?
Um, if we say no,
Mm-hmm.
if we think it's just cringe or not good,
Yeah.
but we can work with artists that we personally do not like, but
Mm-hmm.
we get it.
Yeah.
I think if you want to be professional, you have to be able to do that. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
cannot only work with artists that you are 100% convinced personally. Like, you will not make a long living like that. Like,
Yeah.
I can promise. But it's, if you've worked with a label or with a management for a long time and you trust them, and they are like, hey, I totally believe in this, like, could you promote this? And it's, we work by project. It's not like after that project is finished, we're out.
Mm-hmm.
We get paid for the project. We do not have any percentage in it. Like, we get paid by the project. So it's a service in the
Right.
end of the day. So we don't have any risk, and we're not going to win,
Mm-hmm.
which makes it different to, for example, being a management or a label or whatever. And if I can see that what this person that I trust on the other side sees in that artist, then I think it's super fine. Like, it's genres that we do not really work,
Mm-hmm.
like metal or jazz or, I don't know, reggae,
Right.
because we're simply not able to do it. Like, we
Mm-hmm.
do not know the people
Yeah.
who write about it. But I think, no. Like, I mean, in the end of the day, you have to have a good feeling somehow about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One of the So you run sort of that's a big part of Better Things, and then you also have sort of this little dedicated space of helping independent artists and the DIY guide, which is like 60 something
Yeah.
pages,
It's huge.
is I mean it costs, but it's almost free considering like the what's actually in it. Um, and that's actually how I found you guys. It was on TikTok. Was one of the TikToks of you talking about I think the festival circuit in Germany. Um, so two of the things, especially about the DIY guide, really stood out to me. One is the information about performing live, because that's quite a difficult thing for artists, especially if they don't have a budget in Germany. And the other is, especially I loved because I'm a producer, was the cost breakdown of releasing an album, which I thought was really valuable information because regularly, like I'm at the beginning of my production career, regularly people come to me who are kind of first time recording things and they just have no idea of how much different things cost, including especially cover art, which is like, I made an album and now like I don't have the money to get good cover art for it. Um, but first, the festival thing. Germany is the biggest live market in Europe, and festivals, venues are fairly easy to get into because you can contact them directly. But for festivals, it can be quite difficult to approach. And like, when do I even apply? How do I watch for that? Um, what would be your advice for kind of figuring that out for a first time artist?
I mean, there's always important that you have something going on in the market. So how it usually goes is that you have a campaign release,
Mm-hmm.
like a release campaign, something here, maybe already promoter, you probably have a distributor, maybe you have a label, you even have, like a management who takes care that something is happening in that market. And then preferably you have a booking agent, and that booking agent books you into those festivals, venues, etc. So usually the festival gigs happen during, like, when the album is out. So the album comes out in, I don't know, September, and then usually the festival gigs are the year after.
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes if the campaign is long enough, it can also happen that the festival gigs are in the summer and the album comes out in September. It always depends on the campaign. If you do not have that set up, it will it's hard. Like I can say that, but it's not impossible. So, but the condition is that you have to have something going on. Like if you don't have any release, it's not gonna work because the festivals are like, yeah, why would we book you? That's like, of maybe you have 1.5 million followers. That's an argument. Or 700,000 or whatever. Like you have a huge number of followers. That has become an argument. I know that a lot of booking agents hate that, but it's just the reality. So I can always recommend to write to these festivals, or if you know who books them, or to the venues directly if you don't have any other choice, and just give them an argument why they would put you on a stage. And it doesn't, it can just be the smallest stage at 12 o'clock. Try to give them an argument. Try to tell them where else you're playing. Maybe you're playing a cool festival in UK, and then or you are, I don't know, you're touring with a really cool artist, which is definitely an argument. But the biggest argument in the end is your album and your music, and that has to work, And if you do not have that, just rather work on making good music, and then save some time and do that when you have an album out, or an EP or whatever. But you cannot trick the system. Like you cannot just like go up to a festival before you have even released music. Like you really have to have a product. Like it's really important. And I sometimes feel that these days artists are in such a hurry with these things, and I totally get that. But in the end of the day, you're a musician. Like if you want to just be on stage, you can do something else. Like you are a musician, and that is your biggest argument in the end of the day. And when the product is right, then all the other things
line up.
Line up, yeah. And festivals is usually something that artists play with their second album or so.
Right. So if, for example, if you are releasing a second album and you're doing well, does it make sense to look at festivals when you just released the album and it's kind of something interesting for the festival booker, or is it sort of waiting for 3 months until the festival and then that's, I don't know, is there a time that festivals are typically looking for artists?
Yeah, they're looking, like now would be a good time, February, to even earlier. But then they will, like if you start asking them in December, they would tell you probably the same answer. Like now they would say, yeah, we look into it, we and then they put you in a little folder, and then they might look at you again when they're looking for support or for some smaller artists. Or there's a hype going around you, and then this folder is going to go up a little bit, but you have to be realistic about it. And I think this is a really good tip for artists, being realistic and because if you start to become realistic about your own position, about what you do, then you are going to get better at pitching. You have to, like, even if you are, when you're small, you don't have anything to lose. So really tell the booking agent why you want to play there and why it would make sense for them to book you. Yeah, I'm small, but we have played with this and this artist, and the fans were going the people were going crazy. It was just 20 people there, but they fucking loved it, And really being honest about your situation, because you cannot make up shit. Like it's and I think there's a beauty in still being small, because you can try out things and you can make mistakes. You cannot make so much mistakes anymore when you're bigger. Right. Or people are just like trying to prevent you from mistakes all the time, which is boring. And really look at festivals that you might like. Don't write to any festivals, to all festivals. Just really look at the festivals you think are cool, where you want to hang out, and then maybe if you know someone in the area, or ask them if there's a contact you can get, or a band that plays there that might be friends, you might be friends with, something like that, just try to find an angle as well. But at the end, again, it's the music that needs to convince them.
Yeah. There's also, I don't know if it's a sort of a buzzword thing or if it is really important, the idea of showcase festivals. So the famous one here being Rebrand. Can you explain what is a showcase festival and what's the point of going to that over a different festival?
A showcase festival is basically a fair for music. That's
Right.
our fairs. And every big country has at least one showcase festival. The UK has the Great Escape. There's South by Southwest in the US. There's tons of festivals in Asia, in Africa as well. There's a lot happening now. And in Europe, in Germany, we have Reeperbahn in September. We have CO Pop in April, which is more focused on European and German artists. We have one in Berlin, Pop. I forgot the name. Pop Culture Festival, and they're more focused on diverse, cool, artsy bands. Which I think it's cool that they all have a different approach.
Yeah.
And yeah, usually what you do is when you are entering a market, you play the showcase festival. That's what your management tries to get you in. So you release an album and then you try to get in there. This is an argument for Reeperbahn. Like, you need to have something going on. You need to be export ready, which is the term. And it's good if you have a promotion agency, there must be a sense for them to put you on.
Yeah.
And it's really, really hard because there's so many bands applying every year. Yeah, and that's what you do before you're entering a market, going to a showcase festival and, networking with other people, with other bands. And usually, the manager puts you in there because you're preferably looking for a booking agent in that country or a promotion agency or a publisher.
Right.
That's why you're playing there. So people, like, you're basically showcasing yourself like a product,
Yeah. I mean, it's exactly the same.
Here,
as a
buy
fair.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like you said, I guess the music is the focus of that, which I liked a lot about the DIY guide as well, where I don't remember if it's the first page, but the first bit is basically like, get your music good first, which is great because a lot of the time we'll listen to marketing podcasts or read about marketing, and sometimes it feels a little bit like it falls by the wayside. Like, trying to remember that music needs to be good first, because if it's not, then it's hard to push people over.
Yeah, I think these marketing YouTube things, they're making people mental. Like, honestly, it makes me mental. It makes me mental to watch it. Like, it makes you nervous, and you think you're a loser. It's not how it is. Like, it's just people want to make money and they're trying to sell their marketing stuff. But no, like, if you want to be a good musician, you're sitting down and you're writing good music. That's what you do. And then you think about everything else.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really important. I think a lot of people are very stressed about, especially social media. I feel like TikTok's died down a little bit, but there was definitely a period of TikTok stress. But yeah, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the cost list that's in the DIY guide. There's a couple of things that are kind of like, I don't know, essentially boring information if you've been releasing music, or it's like you need to have a distributor so you can get your music on Spotify and stuff like that. And you need to pay for art, which is always a first-time experience, and being like, oh, this actually should be expensive, because if it's not, you're probably getting something lower quality. And I think the same goes for studio recording and producing and mixing and everything. Yeah, but towards the other end of it, there's more marketing and promotion stuff included. So one of the things that I thought was interesting was €1,000 was kind of put aside for video production, especially for YouTube and that kind of thing. There's a lot of sort of sentiment that obviously people want to make music videos because they're cool, but the time for music videos has passed a little bit. Um, why why do you think that's still important to do music videos?
I think it's important to make snippets
Right.
for social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I still always recommend to do at least one music video for creative reasons, and
Right.
also to really have an expression of like a visual expression of what you're doing there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we usually recommend, and that's what we also usually get from campaigns. Like there's at least one video.
Right.
And then you take that video, you use it for promotion, to put on blogs, etc. But you mostly use it to take the snippets out and to put it on social media. Because like one video gives you up to 10 snippets, which you can use. But I would, again, like, this is of course marketing wise important, but I really think you have to do this out of creative reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like imagining I want to be a music. If I was a musician, that would be one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah.
To do a fucking music video, and just also out of melancholic reasons. But I just think it's such a shame that these things are, like missing,
Mm-hmm.
and that people do not put so much effort in it anymore. And I mean, the 1,000 euros, it's just, it doesn't have to be 1,000 euros.
Yeah.
It can be 200, but it also can be 10,000. Like it
Mm-hmm.
really depends on what you want to do there. I've seen videos that have cost, I don't know, 10 euros, and they're like fucking amazing, but I really think you have to use a visual. Have to. You don't have to. Like, you don't have to do anything. But it's important to, if you've made the music, to find as many other layers that you can get, because an album is so much work,
Mm-hmm.
like so much work, like
Yeah.
and it can like just puff like in seconds, like some artists come up to us saying, "Oh, I'm releasing an album tomorrow. Do you want to do promotion, or next week?" And I was like, "No, like we need time." Like, and then the album's out and it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they need, these things are important to keep the people on it. To make them aware of what's happening,
Yeah.
and really to show them who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And also show them who you're working with. You can, like, if you don't have so much money, you can also go up to a university for arts or whatever, tell them, hey, I'm having this album and I'm looking for someone who wants to cooperate with me, doing a video for me.
Mm-hmm.
This is your piece of art, this is my piece of art, and we're coming together.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunities. If you don't have so much money, you should think more on the creative side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. Again, it's, I guess, obviously just sort of a number, and it's an estimate and it is flexible, but you suggest 2K for radio promotion. Where does that money go?
That money goes into the really hard work. Like, usually, this is about one single on an indie level.
Mm-hmm.
You can pay up to 10,000 euros per single. If it's like charts, if you want to go into the charts, can be even more expensive. But we're talking about indie music, and this is usually including MPN. MPN is like a national plugging system where the song gets plugged or the whole album gets plugged, and then TV, for example, also can take out the song and use it. Radio can take out the song. It's important to have it because this is usually the first memo to journalists, like to radio editors. Like, otherwise, it's hard to do radio promotion. And so you plug that, and then you also do personal pitches to the editors. You use your contacts. You try to convince them. And radio promo takes a bit longer than online because the time is longer. Like, you have to follow up again, and it's a very slow wheel until the song gets like plugged. Sometimes
Right.
you following up again, and then something happens. Of course, if you have an artist that's already happening, it's not so hard. But if you, it can, yeah, like an example, you start a PR, like a radio PR with an indie artist, and then 2 weeks later they get synced, and then all of a sudden you have a new argument, like stuff like that. And this is a good thing with radio promotion. So the money goes into the plugging, but it overall goes into the really hard work that you do.
Mm-hmm. You also talked about MPN on social media at some point, about how it's not really a platform for artists, but for PR agencies. Why is that?
Because you have to have a profile. And if you have a profile, then you also have to be like promotion. Like it's not just, you can't just make a profile and then people look at it. Like you have to be there for a while. You have to have a profile that journalists recognize, and
Right.
it's the same like with PR. I think it's really, I really think like people always think PR is easy and stuff, but it's not. It's like this is actually the part of the music marketing that you cannot just put money in, it works. Like the contacts we've been worked on for decades, you know, and this is the capital you have. This is what you get paid for, and this is also what happens with MPN. So what you can do is like you can pay a PR agent or a radio plugger, tell them, hey, I don't have so much money, but do you want to plug my song? And yeah, I have this and this money. Like this works. Yeah, some do that. Yeah.
Interesting. And the last thing on the list was, you suggest about 1,000 for digital promo for a single. If you had €1,000, where would that go into different things?
Digital promo. Yeah, I'm not such a big fan of it, but it's probably important.
Why are you not such a big fan of it?
I always think that things have to be natural. Like people have to like it. I don't like to put money into things and then eat it. But it's probably a naive of me. I would. It depends on what you do. Like if you have a really cool music video, I would probably put it on Instagram or YouTube. You could, for example, if you have an album release or if you have a ticket sale, you can put that into could put some money into that. So people see that.
You mean as sort of ads?
Sort of ads.
Right.
Yeah. You could also, if you have a distributor and they have different packages they offer, you can pay them as well, or you have to pay for some packages and then they take more care of plugging you into certain things. Some of them even offer sync. It's like, spending €1,000 is not hard. I think it's more like you really have to understand what you want.
Right.
Because it's an easy question and it sounds easy, but it's not clear.
Yeah.
Like when you make music and when you release an album, you can have different purposes. Like some just want that people listen to it.
Yeah.
Some just want to sell tickets. Some want to be the coolest person on earth and they just want to get synced to the next euphoria. It's like it really depends on what you want. And if you can decide on what you want, then you probably know where to put your money in. It usually makes sense to put money into something that already works. Like if you have, for example, a TikTok video that has been successful, then it makes sense to put money on that. It doesn't make any sense to put money into a TikTok video that doesn't perform. Like it won't perform, Yeah, but it's just like the numbers are just like a bit made up, because it can be.
Yeah, it's like an estimate of like this would work.
Can be anything, yeah.
Yeah. Is there any section you think of doing PR where there is sort of a minimum amount of money that has to go into it to make it work?
For PR?
Yeah.
I think you have to put some money into, like, what I can always recommend, if you come to Germany, if you are in Germany and you have your first EP out or your first album, I would try to get a deal where you get first tastemakers on board, which is online and print. because usually they also work on both. It's sometimes stupid, to divide these things, and a radio single. Because radio is still the most important thing in Germany. It's super relevant, has a huge reach, and it gives you back royalties in the end. So it's the only PR that actually gives you back money, So I would try to get a deal which is a bit more about really focused on getting the name out and try to cover all of these. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, and then we're coming up on about 45 minutes, but I have a couple disconnected questions that I couldn't figure out how to put into a row. On TikTok, you mentioned that playlisting is now sort of AI based instead of human curator based, and therefore is more kind of an SEO thing if you have to have an existence online to get playlisted. How do you know that?
I know that because you can Google that, but
Right.
it's also, like the big ones like Spotify, they have let a lot of people go.
Right.
Which usually have curated the playlists.
And then are they often pretty open about like this is AI based?
Yeah, it's AI based.
Oh, okay.
Like it's just an algorithm. It's just like it's about how often a name gets recognized, and then they put it in the playlists. Yeah,
okay.
You can also buy yourself into playlists.
Right.
It's always about money.
Yeah, which in theory you can't, right? On Spotify, where it's in theory against the.
You can also if you have if you have the right distributor and label.
Yeah. Better Things was, well, I guess not Better Things, but you've been doing this since 2009. What do you think has been, or what would you do differently if you were starting it today?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I would do it the exact same way.
You don't feel like the landscape has changed enough that it would have to take a different approach?
No, I think
Cool.
you can never. You are always smart in the end. Like I would do. I'm actually sometimes I think, what the fuck did I do there? Like this is insane.
Yeah.
I would do nothing different. No.
That's such an awesome thing to be able to say, to have like built a company and been like, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
so cool.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't really know. Like it's no. I think I'm proud of that. We have tried a lot of that. We're still trying out a lot of things. I think this is cool. I think we it's important for us to be nice, like to answer properly, be professional, be supportive, with all kinds, like new projects, indie projects, with especially LGBTQ women. Like we're very, very supportive on these things, and it's really important for us to take people serious. And because we have seen it ourselves, like the moment when you are big, people treat you differently, and when you're small. But it's like, I think in the end of the day, someone said it, it's about the stuff, like you can never, like you should try out everything. Yeah? You will never regret what you've tried out.
Right.
You will only regret what you didn't do, know? And I mean, I've seen so many people talk so loudly about how cool they are, and they've just gone away. I mean, I've been doing it for 15 years now, and I get really calm with these things. In the beginning, I was very nervous, when people came up to you like, oh my God, I make so much money, and this is so blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, how do you do that, But then I've seen all of these people, stop and giving up, and a lot are still there, that are really, like, there's so many cool people in this industry that are very true and very, very, very good people. And a lot of them are still there. And I know, like, we know each other, and I think there is like a really calm supportiveness between all of us, and I think this is the thing, like we welcome the new ones, and I think it's about being an indie, even though we work with the majors, and they're nice people too, but it's like, it's about having an indie heart, you know. And in the end of the day, if I don't make enough money anymore, I can still say, okay, at least I've tried it, you know. At least I've tried to establish an indie company, and I did it myself, you know. And there's no major who paid any money to me, you know. And I can really recommend that, and not thinking too much about what you do, really going with your heart and do stuff, you know. And you will always have money problems. It will always be there, you know. But it's about having your heart in things.
Yeah. Cool. I think that's a really good place to finish. That's a really nice summary of how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to promote before we turn off the cameras?
No, not really. I mean, we have a new project coming up, which is huge, and we had it before, but I don't dare to talk about it yet. But you should stay tuned.
Cool. Is it the Sparks project? I'm excited for the Sparks.
No, it's not a band. It's a product.
Oh, okay. Cool. Interesting. Well, stay tuned. We'll link everything down below. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you everyone for listening or watching. As always, if you can leave a review or a comment, some feedback is always really useful so we can improve, but also helps us algorithm wise. So thank you very much. And thank you, Steffi.
Thank you.